Definitely want to thank our association officers for also putting this together, as well as the State Board of Accounts. I was told on my way in that there's way too much time in the next session, so I can take longer than 5 minutes. So we started a little later. And okay. Well, I got a chance to meet several of you as I was walking around, but just for the benefit of my eyes when I see this, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And one is, how many of you are brand new to county government? Just raise your hand. Okay. I counted about 7. That's a lot, and that's good, because we can always use your fresh perspectives. But you do have the hardest uphill climb. How many of you have worked in county government but are brand new to either your office, the auditor, treasurer, or surveyor's office? Okay, probably about double the amount that are brand new. So you at least know the general workings of county government. All right, last but not least, how many of you are coming from the current office you just took or have served in that position before? All right, very good. So we've got about a third, a third, a third. So the last ones that raised your hand, make yourself available for all the other groups as well as you go through that, because you're the freshman class together, and you will go through this hopefully for 4 years, but then hopefully another 4 years unless you want to retire early. All right, I'm Tera Klutz, the Indiana Auditor of State. I just was elected for my first term last November. Before that, I was 2 years in this position, appointed by Governor Holcomb. Before that, I was the Allen County Auditor. Before that, I was the Chief Deputy Auditor, and I came in at Chief Deputy Auditor. And so I'm somewhat familiar with all your offices because, as the auditors will soon learn, you are the hub. And so you get to work with all the offices, so you know a little bit about them all. Stacy Schneider is my Chief of Staff, and I also have Courtney Everett. Oh, she's here in the back. And I also have Matt Beck right beside her. And his name is not listed on here because I updated this from like something I used a year ago. And both of those are ahead of our local government division, which works directly with all of your offices. I have Bob Reynolds, who's going to be talking later, and then Janie Cope. She's also from county government, so she knows a lot of the people that keep rotating. And so that's our staff, and we are here to help. And so you can contact any of us at any time, and if we don't know the answer, we'll just give it to the State Board of Accounts. That's what everybody has to do, right? Okay. All right, goals for your first term. Learn the job. That's 3 words of a lot of work, okay? Indiana law, which will guide your job. Every time you're doing something, try to always refer to, why am I doing this? Where does it say I need to do this? Especially if it's something that doesn't make sense to you, because oftentimes people will get stuck doing things that they think are correct, and it just carries on, and then it changes a little bit, and then all of a sudden you may not be following the law. So this is always a great time for you to figure out if what you're doing is required by law, and most of the time it is, especially in your jobs, but then also if you're doing it accurately. The other one is all the acronyms you're about to go through with the AIC, the SBOA, the AOS, and the DLGF, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of them over the past few days. Well, it just gets worse, and so the sooner you familiarize with them, the better. Some things that you're going to be doing is analyzing your current processes and the results determine the most efficient way to deliver service, great service at great taxpayer value. And so as you're doing those things, and if you notice that anything needs to be changed or you want to possibly make a change, it's really important that you solicit more county official input for all the processes, specifically at the beginning before you make final decisions, because a lot of your decisions have a lot of impacts, and a lot that I hate to admit, you don't know. I mean, I was in my job for 12 years before transferring here, and there were still things I was learning every single week because your job is so important. All right, so then just last but not least, I'm already up with my time, but I'm allowed to go more. I have some helpful tips. You guys are in the honeymoon period, and I just have to say this is the best period for you because no one expects you to know everything. The only thing they expect you to do is care and know what your responsibilities are. And so if you're an auditor, paychecks are pretty important to people, and people want to know that you really care about that. Then you have an annual report to do. If you're treasurers, the bank accounts are really important. And that switch over at the year, I think you are the only office that needs to do an official bank, like a cash count, to make sure that that's the right amount, but then also to safeguard those assets. And just knowing that that's important will give people confidence that you're in the right place. If possible, use existing staff. Those people that are there, and if they're willing to work, are going to be the best tools you have, because there's no way everything that you do is in a manual. The State Board of Accounts tries to get it all in a manual, but it's not. I'll tell you for sure it's not. There are so many little things that are required by law that they basically would have to take the Indiana code and just stack it on a table, because it's also not in the same, it's not all in the same place. You have a statutory, your constitutional office. I think the surveyor is surveyor constitutional? I think it's statutory. I'm not sure, because there are not term limits on the surveyor. But for the treasurers and the auditors, their requirements are spread throughout all the statute, and there's not just one place you can go to find them. Be prepared to work a lot in the beginning. And I took and feeling overwhelmed off my slide because I didn't want to put it on there. But if you're feeling somewhat overwhelmed, that's a healthy thing, because that just means you understand the responsibility of your job. And it will get easier, just like when you start any job. You really don't know how you're going to get through the first 2 weeks. Well, in this job, it's more like the first 6 months. So when you get through that, you should be able to take a deep breath, and you will find so much job satisfaction, because what you do makes a difference. It really does help people, and I know that's hard to say because, you know, we're not Department of Child Services, so we don't get to save kids' lives, and we don't work as doctors or health, but you will slowly find out that whether you're a surveyor and approving development plans that will affect drainage for the rest of, you know, the rest of time and the property and quality of life issues, or you're the treasurer or the auditor, you have a major impact. Dealing with media. I came in with somebody who was very scared of the media. I'm telling you, don't be scared of the media. Really, they're there to help you. And if you do feel intimidated, you need to understand that attitude is everything and you're in control. Okay? So normally, unless you have something to hide, there is no reason to be scared. If you have something to hide, you should be scared, but you're going to lose in the end anyway, because almost everything in your office is public information. Okay? So unless it's a social security number or a phone number, it's theirs anyway. And so if you get a call for a request, the attitude with which you take that sets the tone for your office. So if it's a friendly attitude, like, you know, I'm not sure what that is, but let me find out and get back to you. Because guess what? You're not expected to know everything. But make sure you follow up and get back with them. It's really important to know the open records. I hope that they had that with you maybe yesterday. Okay, they did. And the requirements by law that you're required to do. But I would say attitude before that even, because sometimes people will forgive you if you accidentally miss one of those laws, if you were always helpful and intent on trying to get them what they wanted. Again, maybe they'll help you find something you can fix. You're in your honeymoon period, so you want to find as much stuff wrong during this time that you can. If somebody wants to set up an interview because, you know, we just had something happen with a bunch of fraud in our bank account, or, you know, we just had some misreporting of revenue over here, or maybe there's big flooding for a surveyor somewhere, it's okay to set up a time for that interview and also ask if they could send you those questions ahead of time. And that way you can prepare for that interview, especially if it's on camera. I hate public speaking, and so I just usually wing it, but it's not good advice. All right. My last slide is working together. I will tell you that working together is one of the most important things that you can do for your county and for your career. I have no dream of ever being in this job, but because Allen County, and we work together with our assessor, recorder, treasurer, surveyor, always had the taxpayer in mind. We held monthly meetings, so we were always like, well, this is coming up, and well, this office has this coming up, and then we were able to find better solutions and better ways of doing things and handling it for taxpayers, that somehow we got noticed, and our work got noticed, and then we became an example for a lot of different counties to use. And so even if you have to be the leader, because let's say it was bitter. I came in, the clerk was running against the chief deputy auditor. The clerk won, and the former auditor became the clerk. So there was a lot of animosity. In fact, I was not allowed to contact anybody when I came in underneath as chief deputy auditor. That was a lot of pressure, and that was also it was very destructive to the environment of working together and all of the computers had every file wiped out. Okay? So the good thing is I guess we had to really learn by fire. But the bad thing is it didn't set the right tone at the top. And so we were able to work through that, and we used existing staff, and we were a larger county, so we had 20 staff that stayed. You're going to go into some new staff. Let's talk about that. I mean, maybe they talked about that yesterday. You're probably going to go into some staff that are pretty afraid of your management style. They don't know it yet. They might have been told things by their previous boss that are untrue, or maybe they're true. And so I think tone at the top is my last thing to say is especially crucial for your success. It's your name anyway. So you want these people working for you, and everyone is watching. So what I mean is everyone is watching when you come in. Everyone is watching when you go to lunch. Everybody is watching who you go to lunch with. You can't be everybody's best friend in the office. My best advice is it stinks, but if you could, unless you all go out to lunch together, it might be better if you just stop going out to lunch with specific people that are in through the chain. And I know that may be very hard, but for morale and for productivity, sometimes it's the best decision for the boss. Your attitude. Are you positive or are you negative? Are you complaining about other office holders? That's going to trickle through and go down. And so again, you are the example. I think it's important to admit when you make a mistake. You're going to make a lot of mistakes this year, and then probably in your fourth year, you're still going to make some mistakes. The important thing is how you react to those mistakes. I think that it's really important to admit when you make a mistake. I think it's important to forgive others when they make mistakes. But now that you're the boss, it really means a lot to your staff if you own their mistakes in public or to other agencies, and then go back and work through why that mistake happened and learn from it. And you're going to gain respect from your office, and they're going to want to work for you even more, which then makes you look better, and then everything starts running, and then maybe by the time your 8th year runs around, everything's running like a well-oiled machine. So I know that was a lot, and I'm sorry I only took 10 minutes instead of... I don't have any more to say, but I will take questions. Does anybody have any questions about anything? All right. That's fantastic. Yeah. Yep.